We know it was only a matter of time before somebody in the music industry would stick their neck out for AI. And that person seems to be Timbaland. The super producer is, kind of on everyone's hit list right now, and not in a good way, because he just announced that he's launching a new AI company along with a new AI artist. And I think Rolling Stone put it the best way. They said Timbaland's new artist is young, photogenic, and not human. We have a lot to unpack about what's going on with Timbaland's artist, what people in the industry like Guru and Jermaine Dupri, people who are his peers, are saying, and why I think this is probably not the last time we're going to see a big name artist getting into bed with AI. Let's break it down. When I saw this headline in Rolling Stone, first of all, mwah, chef's kiss to whoever titled this. I had to click on it, and it really did sort of justify my worst nightmares. So Timbaland, this is the super producer that for a lot of us kind of soundtracked our lives, working with everyone from Aaliyah to Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, Nelly Furtado, someone who truly is a hit maker across genres. So Tim has decided that he's going to work with a new AI artist, and this is what we know about her. Or it. I'm not sure how you talk about an AI artist, but this is what we know so far. So the announcement came in Rolling Stone, and I'm going to link the article in the description. But before we get into it, just look at this AI. She looks sort of vaguely Asian, but you're not really sure what race she is. The age is uncertain. It looks like probably, late teens to early 20s, with her facial features and also the way that she's dressed. So we can gather some, I think, important information with just what this AI looks like. But let's get into this article. So it said legendary producer Timbaland has launched this new AI company. It's called Stage Zero, and an AI generated artist named TaTa, and that will be dropping a debut single soon. Also, it is interesting that that name is very just vague. Where is this person from? Unclear, right? It's almost like this AI needs to be all things to all people. We're going to get into that later. So he dropped this with his current creative partner, Zaid Portillo, and film producer Rocky Mudaliar. And they said that they've had this idea for a while. He said, quote, "I saw the path, but I had to wait till everything caught up." I don't think that you saw the path. So Rolling Stone reports that this person, I'm going to call the AI a person because I don't know what to call them. So TaTa is intended to be one of the first of many personas. And the co-founder said that ultimately what Tim's here to do is pioneer a new genre of music, A-pop or artificial pop. They're really trying to work on this branding. And they said that they're going to maintain a social media presence for this person with music videos generated by various AI video tools. They're going to make this AI do anything they want to do. And before we get into it, let's just stop for a minute. I got to put a pin into it. Something about three individuals, and from what I can gather, three grown men creating an AI of what appears to be a teenage Asian girl. Nobody in the room thought that that was weird. Just look at sort of the optics of what that means. I don't know. No one raised their hand in the meeting. I always have that question. I don't know if you guys have that when you're watching things or reading things, nobody in the meeting raised their hand. This is a terrible idea. But let's continue. So it looks like the voice of TaTa first appeared with Suno. So that's another company. It caught Timbaland's ear. Quote, "It came to a point where I'm like, yo, this voice is amazing," the producer says. So he was able to capture and reuse that voice. So it's unclear to me where this voice stemmed from. Was, this just sort of the machine doing it? Was it an actual singer and then they're just extrapolating from it? All of that is unclear. So of course the team was asked about, what about the backlash? Instead of investing in real artists, why are you creating this, this AI? And this is what the team says. It's going to be a bit of a battle, and this is one of Timbaland's partners, but it's not going anywhere. We were thinking about the example of the influencer itself and how ridiculous that might have sounded 10 years ago, where we're like, nah, there's no way YouTubers can be bigger than actors. they're not. And now they're the biggest stars in the world. Also not true. But they're also people, right? So you're still talking about like a human flesh and bone, but I guess here they're unable to distinguish like a real life young woman and, you know, the AI young woman. So as you can imagine, there was immediate backlash. Music critics like myself, fans, as well as people in the industry, other producers like Guru, Jermaine Dupri, a lot of people spoke out about why this is a terrible idea. Timbaland, not really understanding the backlash, decided to respond with his own, I guess it was like his response using AI, but it didn't really, I don't think the point hit home the way he wanted it to.
AI is ruining music. Whatever. Go ahead and cry me a river, since Timbo Stamp is on that too.
Y'all crying about AI taking your spot, but your songs barely mix. Why would we train it on that?
Man, y'all scared of AI, but record every hook in Melodyne.
Auto-tune is AI, baby. Y'all just didn't complain till it started writing better hooks than you.
Timbo ain't the villain, he just not babysitting y'all no more. You want opportunity, but ain't got output.
You worried about AI stealing your sound? Bro, you ain't got one.
And Tim was basically like, you know, why are you worried about people using AI? You don't even have a sound that people want to sort of like, you know, copy or imitate or mimic. And that's really not the point. So I think the reason that this specific instance of somebody in the music business, specifically hip hop, using AI, it's causing so much backlash is because Timbaland has proven to be a musician, an artist, and instead of helping develop that next generation of rappers and singers, songwriters, other producers, instead doing something like this just is so uninspired. It honestly feels like a cash grab. And that's another point I got to get into. What happens in the tech world, and I've seen this with my own eyes, is a lot of these tech companies, you know, they create some new technology and now everyone wants AI. And in order for this technology to really get sort of audience reception and response, ultimately you want to hit critical mass, you need people within the music industry to co-sign it. This is no different than using a brand ambassador or having somebody who is an influencer within a community tell you how great something is. So for this company, having Tim as a part owner, having his name on the website, in the bio, it's a great look for them because this is someone who's had a history spanning literal decades, working with people like Devontae Swing, Missy Elliott, you know, being a part of the Super Friends. Like, he's had so many hit records, you know, just great cultural records. There was a time Timbaland, for those who might be too young to remember, I don't think he entered a room for under $100,000. Like, getting that Tim beat, it was like Tim and Pharrell, they were just scorching it when it came to being a super producer. But this is also a person who has shown range. You know, he can do a record like, you know, Dirt Off Your Shoulder with Jay-Z, but then he can flip it and go do Cry Me a River with Justin Timberlake. Like, this is someone who truly has talent. And I think what's sad is instead of, again, using that talent to further new talent and that next generation, which is something that we talk about all the time, who is that next generation of superstars? Where is the next Aaliyah or the next Justin Timberlake or, you know, any of these amazing people that Timbaland has worked with? Like, who is that next young female singer who has this dream and working with someone like Tim could change her life? But instead of doing that, they're creating this, you know, this like inanimate object where they can kind of, you know, play puppet master and control what this AI does. I shared something on social media about, it's so funny, you know, so many times you hear about in the music industry, I've heard this from, you know, male producers, artists, executives like across the board, I don't want to work with female artists. They're just, high maintenance. I've got to deal with hair and makeup and her boyfriend and this and that and the drama. Sidebar, male artists also have a lot of drama, but it's fine. In this case, we're focusing on the women. So instead of cultivating that next female voice, now with this AI, they can kind of make her do whatever they want, right? You don't got to worry about any of the drama that comes with like a real human person. You don't have to worry about their creative input. They don't got to sleep. They have no opinion. You can literally do anything you want with them, which I think might actually be sort of the premise of a Black Mirror episode. But, I feel right now we just sort of live in Black Mirror, where we see the dystopian sides of technology on a daily basis. And again, it's just sad to me, like someone who has money and fame and a legacy, like in this stage of his career, he can experiment. This is somebody who has so many hit records. He had a great resurgence with the Verses, with Swizz Beatz. Like at this point, I understand if Tim wants to be seen as an important figure, sort of bridging the music technology gap. But I think in order to do that, what I would expect from him is to be an actual advocate for artists. And here it almost feels like he's looking down on artists. Like if you're not as big as him, you have no opinion, you have no right to have rights. And to me, that's just not cool. Like you become an OG, you become a veteran, someone we all respect, so you can open doors for other people. And this to me only looks like it's opening doors for fewer and fewer artists to get signed. Artist development, which is already on a sort of like, its lifeline, is going to be totally thrown out the window. And just kind of this objectification of people, especially young women. And, maybe I feel just more personally tied to that, but I just don't like it. This AI looks like it's almost meant to mimic someone like somebody in a K-pop group or a J-pop group, and it's speaking to that demographic. But with this person has no opinion. There's no thoughts. There's no feedback. You don't have to worry that, she needs vacation or time off. So it just feels like you're getting all of the positives of working with a young female artist with none of the realities. Actual artists and songwriters are sitting here fighting for their rights on a daily basis, whether it's songwriters, producers, artists, rappers, whomever. And this just feels like it's opening more ways to take away rights from people and to take away revenue opportunities from people. So that's like another thing sort of to consider. What happens with sort of ownership? Like in AI, where is it pulling from? What is the source material? What is the inspiration? And ultimately, where does the ownership fall? I don't know the answer to any of that. And I don't think Tim and his team do either. One thing I was thinking about while I was reading all this, do you all remember about 2 years ago, Capitol Records signed a virtual rapper? This is his photo. It's as cringe now as it was then. And there was so much backlash. Like the minute people saw this, they saw the things this artist was saying, the images, they were incredibly stereotypical. It was almost a parody of a SoundCloud rapper. And when people started doing digging, first it was like this white guy behind it, but then he claimed it was like this other black guy who helped him. Long and short of it, it was a mess. And so much so that Capitol just dropped the idea. And I just think to myself, like a couple years ago wasn't that long ago, Tim. Like we remember, like the North remembers what happened when, sort of like a tech company or the powers that be tried to artificially manipulate something to such an extent that there was just this widespread criticism. And I think when it comes to Timbaland and his new AI creation, I guess, it's the same thing. So like I said earlier in this video, did nobody raise their hand in the meeting? Like, I just kind of wonder, who are these advisors? Who's like telling artists to make these decisions? Because so many times, all it takes is a few bad decisions, and these incredible artists with amazing legacies, you're destroying so much goodwill. But this thing, having somebody named TaTa who's an AI, absolutely not. So I'm going to say this was not a good move. Who knows how long before this gets deleted? Maybe right now they're hoping all publicity is good publicity and maybe they'll try to drop a record. But yeah, we'll definitely not be listening or supporting. But I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about Timbaland going on this AI ledge? Do you think that what he's doing is actually innovative and it could end up benefiting music and, hip hop specifically? Or do you think that, this is just technology gone bad? This is going to be a secure the bag moment for him, but it's really not going to help not only just artists down the line, but also fans and just like the general, landscape of music and of pop culture. I would love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments.